Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Life Warriors podcast. I'm Mary McMichael, and this is my buddy Teresa.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Life Warriors podcast. We talk about all different kinds of things, and we want to make it real. We want to keep it real. And my dear friend Mary has been going through a really rough time. I mean, it's been not just the last couple of months, but the last over a year. I've been riding this roller coaster with her up and down, her husband being sick, and then, we lost Chuck April 1st. So I know we want to talk about grief, Mary. So where are you at? What's going on?
Where are you at?
Well, where are you at in your mind, I guess, and in your
Yeah,
heart,
no,
and
no, no, no.
and your soul and your spirit and
There's, I was really holding off on talking about this because it's still so raw. But then you and your wisdom said no, because if you're going through this, other people are going through it too. So maybe you should share your journey because if we can touch one person and I have been on Facebook and whatever social media watching people go through their grief, new people, other people are still holding their soulmate's hand and through cancer and all that entails and I've gotten some of my strength from watching them, and I've also learned a lot that grief's a journey, but there is no end.
and it's not linear. So maybe for the people that don't know, I mean, I was sharing that it'd been over a year. I remember distinctly last May, you guys went to a wedding and you sent me that picture, and I said, Chuck does not look good. And it was 2 weeks later he was diagnosed. So that roller coaster, almost a year. So maybe just you want to share some of that?
Well, for him and I, he had esophageal cancer and but it started in like February, like once or twice that month we went out to eat and he felt like something was getting stuck. And I thought, oh, well, maybe you have a hiatal hernia. Maybe we should get that checked. No, it's not that big of a deal. So it was only like one or two times that month. And then the next month, it seemed like it was at least once a week where he would start to eat and he'd feel like it's getting stuck there. And my little brother, Billy, he has a stenosis in the esophagus that has to get stretched. And so we were
Mm,
thinking, well, maybe that's what, because Chuck has all that. He's had taken reflux medicine forever.
mhm.
And we thought, well, maybe he's got some scar tissue buildup kind of thing. But again, he didn't want to go to the doctor. So,
Right.
then it started like every other day. And then it was a couple of times a day. And then it got to where he was scared to eat. And
Oh,
then on that Thursday and Friday, I could not get his pills down him. He
wow.
could not take his medicine. And so by Saturday morning, I said, we're going to the hospital. We're going to see a special, we're not going to go to our PCP, and then they're going to send us to this doctor, and we're going to wait a month to
We're
see
going
that
straight. We're just going
doctor,
straight.
going straight to the emergency room so I can see a specialist today.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
they did that
And for
CT
anybody out
scan.
there, that's like the best way to get a specialist because there's always a specialist for every single
Oh yeah.
area on call, always.
Absolutely. And so they did that barium swallow and then they did the CT scan and then they found the tumor. It was at the base of his esophagus. And so then from there, we had a failure to thrive. He wouldn't eat, he wouldn't drink, even stuff that he could, like pudding or ice cream
Was it
or
because he was afraid to eat because it hurt?
I don't, I don't, I don't know. He wouldn't really talk about it. I was
Mm.
like, just kept saying, honey, you are not, you're going to die this way if you don't get some nutrition down you. You've got to eat. And
Right.
so, the whole month of June, we were in the hospital every day. We were admitted and discharged four times that month.
I remember.
four times that month. And it was the same thing, honey, if you don't start eating, and he called me the food Nazi, which that did not go over
Food
very well
police.
with Nurse Mary. So I got up and I walked out. I went and sat in the atrium for a little while. And because you only want the best for them, and you
Absolutely. And
can't
you
do
could,
it
I'm
for
sure
them.
you could see him getting weaker and paler and all that. And, it's like I have a big syringe and this, and I'm not equating my cats and dogs with Chuck in any way, but I have a big syringe. If they won't eat, I'm like, great, I'm going to cram it down your throat. You'll eat. And I bet you felt like it was almost like that. Come on, Chuck, you got to eat, buddy.
Yeah,
He
and you
wouldn't even
can't
eat
make.
his ice cream. I know he loved ice cream.
Oh yeah, I could get ice. I'd go get him a Blizzard from Dairy Queen, and one of my friends like you can't be on a high sugar diet. That's gonna increase the size of the tumor. You're feeding the tumor. I'm like, he's gonna be dead if he doesn't eat anything. So
Right. He needs some calories from somewhere.
or
Right.
the other thing was, oh, he needs, I was doing research too on all this stuff, the
Sure.
fenbendazole and the ivermectin, and that, cancer is really more like a parasite. Now, this is just stuff that I've read, I'm not promoting anything here, but this
Well,
was,
and also, Mary, when you're in the middle of something like that and you're reading stuff, it's almost like you get crazed. It's like, oh my God, it's this. Oh no, it's this. Oh, but this person says it's this. And you start getting, because it's not like, oh, okay, I'm learning about cancer. No, you're crazed because in the next room, your husband's dying. He won't eat and you don't understand. So I can, oh, I have told you this before. I cannot imagine what you went through. I can't.
I when in May when we got that diagnosis, I thought my life was over, or his life was over. But I had to be strong for him. So, what I did was I gave it to God. I gave it to God. I said, God, just give me peace. Just give me peace. That's all I need so that I can help Chuck. So I prayed for peace and he gave me peace every single day. Because, towards the end, it got harder and harder to go to that hospital. I had PTSD
Oh,
from that damn hospital.
I remember. I remember calling you and you're like, I'm like, what are you doing? You said, just sitting here because I don't want to go to the hospital. I mean, you seriously were traumatized by it. And, I remember telling you, go outside and hug a tree. Just go hug a tree.
Yeah, that helped. So if you are stressed out, go hug, pray to
Take
God
your
or
shoes
whoever your
off
God is. Take your shoes off and go hug a tree because
and
that may
talk
help
to,
you.
and
And
just
lean
breathe and
on
talk
your
to the
family
universe.
and friends. Lean
Yes.
on them. I
Well,
couldn't have
and
done
I,
this
I would
alone.
think you being a nurse would be a double-edged sword.
It
Like it would
is.
be because sometimes being in the dark is best. But
Ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is
yes,
bliss.
yes, I'm sure, I'm sure. And then I remember, right around the holidays, it was touch and go. It truly was a roller coaster that never
It
ended.
was the hardest thing. I can only imagine him. I mean, I know what I was going through. I can only imagine his being discouraged, and one minute he's better, the next minute he's not. And let me tell you what, that hospital up there, they were amazing. I mean, we had a couple of things happen that probably shouldn't have happened, but for the most part, we were taken care of very well, and they were total professionals.
That's good.
Awesome.
Well, and also I think it's important to tell our listeners that Chuck was an athlete. And
Hmm.
so for him to go from being a professional athlete
Yeah.
to this,
To an
I like,
invalid. An invalid.
yeah,
Basically, he
yeah.
wasn't even barely getting out of the bed.
Wow. I remember you would send me pictures of him and he stood up today and he did this today. And it was such a small, simple task, but I'm sure it was Herculean in
Oh
his
man.
eyes.
It
So,
it's so hard too to watch your loved one, especially in the ICU when he was on the ventilator,
ew.
you know, and you can't and then they would try to take him a little bit off of some sedation, and he would start to panic, and then he can't say anything because he's intubated, and I'm like,
Sure.
I don't know what you're trying to tell me, honey. I just and then I go out and tell, can you give him, just knock him back out again, because he's
Right.
so anxious. And that really, I mean, think about breathing, because then that was when the pleural effusion started happening, and
And what's
he
that? Explain
that
that to those of us who have
that's
no clue.
oh, that's a you have a pocket in the lung that is
Fluid?
um, fluid,
Oh,
and so you can't get the good oxygen exchange that you need to
mm,
take place,
okay.
so um, yeah, so he was on high flow oxygen, and we're gonna have to put you back on the ventilator, and it was back and forth, and then they tried to take him off the ventilator, and he freaked out and put him back on the vent. It was just like back and forth, back and forth. You know, I feel so strongly for anybody that, not only people that have cancer that are dealing with their cancer, but especially their family, to watch someone so healthy and virile.
And Chuck was vibrant. I mean, there's
Oh, he
another good word.
was.
Chuck was
But in
very
the end, he
vibrant.
barely had a voice. He could
Well,
barely speak up for himself.
yeah. So I remember him being so crazy, so wild, so funny. I enjoyed him so much. And I remember when, the whole first diagnosis came through, it was supposed to be easy peasy done. We got
Hun-
this.
Yeah.
And then I got the phone call from you saying, well, we don't got it. So what happened? Was it
So in June, with all the issue with him not eating, and he was, his electrolytes were all out of whack. That's your
Mhm,
sodium, your potassium,
sure.
and so we had to get him start eating. So finally he started eating. Whatever I could put in him. He liked French onion soup, I'd make him French onion soup. If it was ice cream, whatever. He's finally started eating, and then finally we got to the oncologist, and then we got staged to find out what state he was, a stage 3, and with no metastases. So it
And
was
how
just
many stages
confined.
are there? There's 4.
4.
Okay.
And but there was no metastases, so that means it didn't spread. It was confined in the esophagus. So I was always like, if it's confined in the esophagus, then why can't we just do the surgery? Why does he have to go through chemo? I didn't
Right.
understand. I still to this day don't really understand. They were talking about margins and this and that so they can get the whole thing. I said, but you're cutting here, and reattaching. What make
I
sure your
mean, to
margins are
me,
good,
I'm not a surgeon, but that makes sense to me. I mean, you have a hose and it has a hole or something, a bubble, you just cut and put it back together again. So
So,
I mean, I
so
remember it was supposed to be so easy.
yeah. So in July we ended up back in the hospital. He just was not doing good at home. He was falling, and so uh, I had to call an ambulance, and so they took him over to the not the downtown Harris Hospital, but the one closer to us. But the downtown one is the one he spent most of the time in. But we went over there, and it turned out his hemoglobin was really low. So he just sat up in that bed. So I got there in the morning. By 4:30 in the afternoon, we were in his room, and he just sat up, and this blah, he just vomited all this blood. It was
Oh,
everywhere. And so I go running out to get the nurse. We're in the PCU floor, which is not quite ICU, but not, general on the floor. So they came running in, and then they started giving him blood. And um, the next morning, I was like, "What's his hemoglobin this morning?" And they were like, "It's 7." I said, "Well, last night it was 7.2, and it's 7 now." Okay, so this is a new nurse, a young nurse. I'm old nurse. So I was trying to use it as a
wise. You're
teaching
a
moment.
wise nurse.
Teaching moment. Okay, he's 7.2, now he's 7. So what does that tell you? He's still bleeding. So where's the GI consult? Well, we don't have one. We'll get one. You need to
Let's
reach
get
out to the
one.
doctor and say, hey, I noticed this and we need to address this. That's what a PCU floor is. You got to get nip stuff in the butt
You're
before it
paying attention to
happens.
everything. Yeah.
Right. And then I said, and we have another problem. I said, he got contrast dye yesterday and he hasn't peed all night. And he's a 68-year-old man. He hadn't peed all night. So he should be peeing several times during the night because he's got a, enlarged prostate kind of deal. So he can't really empty his bladder. Like at home, he would be up 3 or 4 times a night.
Right.
And they weren't giving him that medication. They didn't have it in a form that they could give it in under his situation. But anyway, so yeah, so the next morning or so, then we got the GI consult, we got all these consults. Then when the kidney doctor came in, and he was very grandfatherly. He had silver hair and a thick accent. He goes, I don't know baseball much, but my grandson played baseball, and then so they started talking baseball. And
Oh,
it was
nice.
a really nice conversation. And he was there about 30 minutes, and then he
Mhm.
left. And then the next morning they did the endoscopy. And when they got the tube down or when they intubated him, all this blood came back up again and he aspirated blood. So um next thing I know, the doctor's coming out and he aspirated, and they ended up taking that. They had put a stent in there to hold his esophagus open so he could eat normally instead of using a tube. And it was eroding the tumor. It was causing the tumor to bleed.
I
And
see.
so that's where all the bleeding was coming from. So they took the stent out and they were able to flush out his lungs, but they put him on a ventilator. And so they took him up to the ICU. So I go up to the ICU, and um, the doctor comes out and it's like, he needs chemo and radiation, blah, blah, blah. But we don't, there's only two places in Tarrant County that do that in person. Um,
And just
and I said,
FYI to everybody, Mary's in the Dallas Fort Worth area. So,
yeah. So I was like, you need to stop the bleeding. We don't need to worry about that other stuff. We got to fix
right.
this why is he
Right.
bleeding? And he
So,
was,
so Mary, I get the whole medical history, but what I'm concerned about is where was your mind right now? Where was your heart?
I thought he was
Where
going
were
to
you?
die. I
Yeah.
thought he was going to die. And so I said, God, give me a sign. When that doctor left, I said, God, give me a sign. I need a sign. And I look up and there's that Indian doctor. This was a Sunday. He came in on his day off. He came over to me. He goes, Miss McMichael, can I give you a hug? And because I was crying, and he hugged me. He was like, yesterday after I left your room, I couldn't quit thinking about your husband. And then my wife is like, what is wrong with you? And he goes, I can't quit thinking about this man that I saw today. He
She's
needs
like,
a
go,
surgical
go back to the
consult.
hospital.
So he goes to the hospital, tell me, your husband, I'm not a specialist, but he needs a surgical consult, which is what I suspected all along. So I I feel that you, as a family member or a spouse or whatever, you need to stand up when things don't seem right. Ask
Well, and
questions, be an
ask
advocate,
questions. Remember, we
be,
were talking dig and dig deeper. Don't just tell me some kind of jargon, oh, we're going to do this. Well, what does that mean?
yeah, use your
What does
common
that mean?
sense. It wasn't
Yeah,
rocket science. He don't need chemo and radiation right now. He needs that tumor to stop bleeding, you
right.
know?
Right.
And so I went back to the room, and that doctor came in. I said, they were like, we're going to transport him to a UT Southwestern in Dallas. I said, no, we're not. I want a surgical consult. And he goes, well, we can't do that here. Well, put us somewhere where he can get it done. So they put him in an ambulance about 1 o'clock in the morning and took him downtown. And then that's where finally stuff started happening like it was supposed to happen. And he breezed through chemo. It was like, it was no big deal for him. It was
Right.
amazing. And I thought, well, we're really going to, and then the tumor shrunk, and they're okay, now we're going to do the surgery. And then here we go. 10
Oh my
hours to do
goodness.
that surgery. 10.
I
Uh,
remember when I went through chemo, the only thing I lost, I didn't lose his hair. I lost my eyelashes and my eyebrows. That was it.
oh,
Nothing else.
wow.
Everything else was fine.
He lost it all everywhere. He looked
Wow.
so weird without any hair.
I bet. I bet.
But once it was all said and done, his hair grew back. He had a beard. I would shave him at the hospital, a couple times a week. I'd shave and groom his little face. And, I went there almost every day.
So other than hugging your tree and doing your research, what are some things that you did that maybe people listening that have a loved one or maybe they're going through that helped you?
I would that helped me was like, leaning on your family and your friends and don't be afraid to ask for help. Look, I'm always fixing everybody else's problems. So it was hard for me to say I need help. Like my sister and my friend Kimmy and Eileen and Sharon and Jack and Stacy, all these people in my life, when I was having so much anxiety, I'd pick up the phone and call them because it scared me because I didn't know what I was going to do. That first month, I didn't want to live
Yeah.
after that. You have to and educate yourself. Get those books, read stuff, and don't get all your stuff off of Facebook. Be smart about the information that you're taking
Don't you
in.
love the people on Facebook and go, does anybody have any experience with this? Some unbelievable, physical ailment and all these doctors, right? And it's like, no, don't get all your information on Facebook or Instagram or
Ask
a tick.
questions. Don't let those doctors intimidate you.
Yes,
Don't
no,
let
no.
them they're people too. So, find you one that you can ask
Well,
questions
and
and
they
ask
make
questions.
mistakes too, and maybe they're not seeing what you see,
Uh-huh. Well, a
and
couple of times I had, oh, you know what? You're right. I said, yeah, I am right, But so be an advocate if you can, yeah, and you may have to stand outside your comfort zone to do that. But I'd also tell you in those moments when you're with your person to, um, you're still making memories and try to make them good ones. That's what I tried to do with him. Yes. Sometimes I snuck some ice cream in there. Sometimes I gave him stuff he wasn't supposed to have, but god damn, he'd been in there 4 months. And
right.
and talk. We had conversations right down to the end where I told him, "Don't leave me pennies, leave me dimes.
I remember that. Yeah.
Don't
Well,
you don't live with regret. So if you got something to say, say it. Get it out. Don't think you will have tomorrow. And that's in life in general. That's not if you're going through something like I went through. In life in general, if somebody
right.
pops into your head and you think about that person, pick up the
Give them
phone
a
and call
call.
them.
Yeah. I've told you many times that, oh, I'm getting ready. We're not promised quantity, we're promised quality.
Yeah.
And I am so jealous of you because you have your mom still. She's 96 years old and still kicking. And I lost my mom when I was 27 years old. It was just at the time when we were going to start being friends, true friends. And I sometimes get so upset. I don't remember what she looked like. I don't remember what she smelled like. I
Yeah.
don't I don't remember. I don't remember. And it just engulfs me in sadness. So, take those snapshots, take those mental, don't be bringing your phone out all the time, but take them in your head and put them in your heart file. I call it a heart file.
Oh, that's
And
cute.
yeah, and like I remember certain things, and I'm sure you do too, and I urge our listeners, please do that. You're not guaranteed. Again, we're not promised quantity, but we are promised quality, and that's really,
Yeah.
really, really
And give
important.
yourself grace too, because grief requires you to give yourself grace. Like, those first couple weeks, I could barely get my butt out of bed. And I'm thankful that I had people stay at my house with me because I was a hot mess. I
Right,
needed to talk. I needed to talk about him. I still
right,
need to talk about him.
right. Well, Mary, whenever the phone rings and it's you, I pick it up. You know that.
I know
It's
that.
it's
But there
I
is no
again,
end to, there is no, like when I get to, like they say it's a journey. When you get to the other side, you don't. You're
no.
never going to get there. It's going to soften, but it's
Well,
still
and the
always.
memories now that make you cry are going to make you smile one day. And and I truly believe that. Like I think about my mom and things that used to make me cry. I smile and I get kind of a warm hug. I feel it. And
Well,
and
when I
I
hear his voice on this little frame I bought, because some of the
yeah,
videos are on there, and I found one
right.
where I'm backing out in my truck, in my new truck, and I honk the horn, and he goes, "I love you," and it
I
comes
remember I
on
heard
multiple
that.
times a day.
Right, right. So
And there's
and
130 things on that thing, and why is that one keep coming up? Because it's Chuck. He's here. He's here. You
he's
can't tell
here.
me otherwise.
He's around you for sure. So how do you feel about people going in with strangers? And the reason I say that is because if they go to a support group or if they reach out to an online
Oh,
group or
see, I
something,
had a bad experience with that because I recognize that I need help. Like within the first week, I went to the doctor. I need to be on
hmm
an antidepressant. I have a terrible anxiety and blah blah blah. And can you check my heart? My heart kept fluttering and stuff. And I thought, oh God, what? We already lost Lily and Papa. Now we're gonna lose Lala. No, I had to step it up. So I went to a support group that was just down the street from my house. And I walked into this room, and these women were all way older than me. And I was started listening to them, and it was like they all had one foot in the grave. And I'm like, no, this ain't for me. This one's not for me. And so I
well,
left.
and
And
their grief was probably different as well, and I'm sure that's what kind of caused you to be like, oh, this isn't working for me.
well,
Because
they were,
everybody's
like I
grief is
said, they were
different.
old. They were way older than me, in their 80s and stuff. And I don't know.
But
Everybody's
that
grief
wasn't
is different.
necessarily bad. I mean, maybe if you'd
No,
found the
it
right
just
group.
I didn't feel comfortable in there, and I
Right,
didn't feel like I was going to get what I needed. So I
right.
did an online grief share. I used grief share, and I actually enjoyed the first session. I really enjoyed it, and but I'm listening to all these people, and I said, can I say something? And I know I'm new to this group, and I lost my husband a couple weeks ago, but an observation that I'm making in this room right now, I hear a lot of you way too worried and concerned about what other people think your grief journey should look like. You know, it's your journey. It should be whatever you feel like it needs to be. Who cares if people are like, is she not over it yet? No, we're
Right.
never going
Well,
to be over it.
people are always criticizing, like the young widow who is remarried in 6 months.
Uh,
That's her,
you do
that's her.
you. You
Yeah,
do
do
you.
you. Do it what feels right for you and
Chuck
don't
wouldn't
do
want me
anything.
sitting around by myself for the rest of my life. I know that
Right,
for a fact. Well,
right.
he even
Well,
used to tell me, you need to buy if I go first, you buy a Corvette and put widow on the license plate and you drive it for a year. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that.
right, right.
I hate that word. I
Well,
hate
we
the
got the
word.
core. I found another word for you, and I can't remember what it was, and I have it somewhere. But there's another word. It's a European word for widow, and it's really kind of cool. So I'm going to get that for you.
Oh, neat.
But just FYI, the Corvette's in the garage. So whenever you come out here,
I
I
have my
told
motorcycle and a new truck. I got a new
there
truck,
you
so
go. I told
I'm
Cliff, I said, if you go first, I'm going to put you in the front seat in your little jar, and we're going to go on a road trip all the way down the Pacific Highway.
like I took my grandsons to California.
Yes, yes, you sure did. You sure
That
did.
was amazing. So you got to do all of those things.
You got
Don't
to
worry
do
about
what
what other
makes
people are
works for
thinking.
you.
Do
Yeah.
what works
And
for you. I did, we did a couple of trips, and I got out of the house, and you know, it's been 5.5 months, and am I better now? Yeah, I'm better now. But I have my moments still. Something will trigger it, and I'll start bawling my eyes out again. So it just happens. It blindsides you. It blindsides you sometimes. It comes out of nowhere. It's like anxiety, it comes out of nowhere, and it just stops me dead in my tracks. I'm not worth shit. poop or
Well,
whatever.
just remember that, grief and that journey, it's not linear. It's not straight. It goes up and down and sideways
Waves.
and
It's like the
backwards. And
ocean.
yeah,
Somebody
yeah.
said it was
So,
like the ocean, and then the tides come in and the tides go
mhm,
out, and there's
mhm,
ebb and flow, there's rip currents, it's just like the ocean. That was the best description I've ever heard for grief.
mhm,
And
mhm.
I've grieved other losses in my life, but not
Sure,
something this significant. My
sure. Well,
soulmate.
yeah. Well, it was my honor to have met and sat with you and Chuck a few times I came to Dallas because he was a hoot. I just loved him so much. But what I need to tell you and everybody else listening, I say this all the time. You have lived through 100% of your darkest moments.
Yeah.
Your darkest days, you've lived through them.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
pat yourself on the back. Give yourself a big old hug because you did it. And there's going to be some days that you just want to sit in the bathtub and let the water run over you until it goes cold.
I want to
And
help others do it too.
well, that's the thing. That's why we're talking about the hard stuff here on Life Warriors podcast. We've all gone through grief, loss, trauma, financial hardship, job loss. And saying that, Mary is not unemployed anymore. She is
Yeah.
going to be a new occupational nurse starting in the middle of September. We're not going to lose her though. She's still going to be here with
Oh,
me,
no, no,
which
we're still doing this.
we're
It's
very excited
important.
about that. But
Important.
it's a journey. And if you are grieving not a person but your dog or your cat, or you're grieving a job loss, that's
Anything.
okay. It's okay.
Give yourself grace.
Yes, yes. Protect your peace. Don't let somebody else
Yeah.
tell you what you need to be and do and say. And, oh, I have this friend and you need to meet him. Nope, not ready. Thank you very much.
Oh, no,
Or,
I can't even think
okay,
about that.
but maybe you will say, oh, that would be nice. But that's your
I need a
answer, not,
friend. I don't need another man. I need a friend. Maybe that'll
well,
change. I don't know, but
yeah,
we'll see.
right now it's tough. But, I have loved being on this journey with you. I've hated being on this journey with you
Yeah.
because of how it's just been. And I was experiencing the roller coaster with you, but it wasn't firsthand. I was second person.
Oh, yeah. There was a
So
lot of people like that.
so it I cannot imagine. I'd get off the phone sometimes and my husband be like, what happened to you? And I was like, oh my God, I just it's tough. So anybody out there, we've got a huge community that we're growing, and thank you all for that very much. We're here. There's somebody listening right now that's in this group that has been through and is going through exactly this. So reach
Yeah.
out,
So your
Look,
Life Warriors challenge is, if you are on this journey of grief, ask for help when you need help. Find you a place where you can share uh, your, whether it's a grief support group or whatever. Find things in your life that you enjoy doing them, and do them. Like my grandsons, my family, my friends. But ask for help. Give yourself grace and ask for help when you need help. Even if it's
and
just a phone call.
I just need to tell you guys that asking for help does not mean you're weak. It
No.
means you want to get strong. So remember that. Don't think, oh, I'm weak because I'm asking for help. No, it means you want to be strong. You want to get there. And, Mary, you have shared things with me and us today that I didn't know all of it. And now I know a little bit more. So I want to tell everyone, thank you so much for being part of the Life Warriors podcast. And we are always stronger together and unstoppable always. I'm Teresa. Take care.
Absolutely. And I'm Mary. You be you, you be kind, you be weird. I'm
Definitely
Mary.
be
I'm
weird.
out. Thank you so much.
Take care.